Hello Muskogee Nation of Oklahoma, this is Chef Jason of Native Chef LLC and welcome to the Culinary Kitchen. Today we're going to be doing a sweet and sour chicken recipe with vegetable steamed rice, and the first part of that recipe is done. As you can see, I got everything on my recipe in front of me that's ready to go. And again, we have to look at that recipe to see what we have to start. And in this case, it's going to be the rice. The rice, we're going to cook some brown rice, and that's going to take a little bit of time. So that's the first thing we're going to get going, and we have a lot to do. I thank you so much for watching today, and I hope you have fun watching. We're going to have a great time. Let's get started. Okay, again, the first thing we're going to get our rice going, and I just put 1 cup of rice in there, and then I'm going to put 2 cups of water, and we just want to bring this to a boil. And then once we have it at a full boil, we want to cover it, and then we're going to turn it down to a simmer, and we're just going to simmer it till all the water has absorbed into the rice. Next up, we want to take some pineapple tidbits, and you can buy them crushed if you want. Just make sure that they're drained pretty well, and if you're going to buy the tidbits, we just want to give these a quick rough chop, and we want to make them a little bit smaller, so we'll just cross chop them. Okay, very quickly here, we're going to make a sweet and sour sauce. We're going to take our chopped pineapple here, we're going to add that to our pot. Going to add some ketchup. We're going to add some red vinegar, some sugar, brown sugar, a little bit of soy sauce, and going to add some cornstarch. What we want to do is we want to bring this up to a boil, and we're going to thicken it. And after about 3 minutes here, you'll see we have a pretty thick mixture. You want to stir it pretty consistently when you're making this sauce. And if you want it thicker like this, what we're going to do is we're going to spoon it over the chicken after we saute the chicken. But if you want it a little bit thinner, just leave some of that pineapple juice in there. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to turn the heat off, and we're going to cover this and then reserve it for when we're ready to plate. And then we want to trim up our chicken breast. So take some of this fat off of here, as much as you can. And then today I'm going to be using these chicken breasts. Are about 8 ounces a piece. So the recipe might call for 4 4-ounce pieces, but sometimes you can find these chicken breasts thicker like this, and you can get a better price. All I'm going to do is I'm just going to cube these. And I'm going to cut them down here, and we'll get some of these nice chunks out of them. And then once we have our chicken cut up here, about 1-inch square pieces, we want to add a dash of black pepper here and really mix that black pepper into it well. And then once we have our rice, pretty much all the liquid is absorbed. It takes about 35-40 minutes sometimes, but it depends on how high you had it simmering. But you can always check it, and what you're going to find is that when you have it covered and simmering, it's going to boil up on you. So you have to keep an eye on that, because if it'll boil up, the steam will kind of bubble up, and it'll kind of drain down onto the bottom of your cooking stovetop. So all you have to do is just kind of raise it up and then let some of that steam go, and it'll go down, and basically the rice is done when it's not bubbling up anymore. So what we want to do is we want to take our either partially frozen veggies or all the way thawed veggies or whatever. We want to add them now because the heat of the rice will help cook these. So we're just going to give them a quick stir, and then we're going to cover, and we're going to use these at plating. Okay, I preheated my pan here. I'm going to add about a tablespoon of oil, and I'm going to really spread that around, and we want about medium high. We want to really sear these chicken breasts really good. So Want to start with a good high temperature. So what I want to do now is really spread these chicken out into one layer. Try your best to get them all spread out as best as you can. Once we get them all spread out, do not stir them at all. Let them develop a nice crust on one side. That'll be our presentation side. And then we'll stir, because once we stir, we won't be able to get that same color on them. So get them spread out, and we'll let them go for about 5 minutes on this one side. Then after about 5 minutes here, you see where the chicken is almost 3/4 of the way cooked through, and that's what we want. So now once we stir it, we won't be able to get this nice brown color that we got. That's why it's so important not to stir it initially. So just try your best to stir them around, and then you can take the time to actually flip over the ones that need to cook on the other side. And then after about 3 minutes or so on this side, the chicken is done, and you can tell when it's really done because it's really, really firm when you touch it. There's hardly any give. And so now that we have our chicken done, we're going to reduce the heat, and we're going to prepare, getting ready to start plating our meal. And then right before we plate, we're going to season our rice. And if you're on a very, very low sodium diet, don't add the salt here. There's enough in some of that other stuff, that ketchup and soy sauce, low sodium soy sauce. But if you are really watching your sodium, don't add it. But we're going to add just a little bit of salt and mix that really well. And as you see, the rice cook the veggies, and the veggies are nice and bright and colorful, and that's what we want. We want colorful food. So we'll get this mixed well, and then we'll start plating. So now that we're plating here, the rice is nice and still steaming. We'll put some rice and veggies on the bottom here. We'll add some of our chicken right on top. Make sure you get our presentation side up. And then we'll add some of our sweet and sour sauce right on top, just like that. And then we'll finish by putting a few sliced scallions. I've done these sliced scallions in quite a few recipes, so I didn't actually show how to do these ones, but nice presentation on the end. So some important takeaways from this recipe is that we're cooking at home, right? We're creating our own sauces, and today we did the sweet and sour sauce. And what you got to remember is that all that stuff that they put in those containers to let that sweet and sour sauce sit on the shelf for years. Some of them probably are years. We're not doing that. You've seen how easy it was. It was just a little bit of prep to get the ingredients first, and then measure them out, and then put them together. And you know, that's what's important. Also, you know, you go to Chinese restaurants, and you always get vegetable fried rice. Well, you know what they do? They add the cooked rice to the pan. They add a bunch of soy sauce, or they usually add like a teriyaki sauce. You know how much sodium is in that stuff? You don't need it. You can do steamed rice, and it's all about colors. This rice actually looks better than any rice you're probably going to get at any Chinese restaurant. And I showed you how easy that was. You cook the rice, and then you add the partially frozen veggies, and then they kind of cook in the rice, and they stay nice and bright and colorful. And again, whenever you're searing, you always have to remember that searing is basically hot enough to where any liquid that's got any moisture that comes out of the chicken is going to evaporate. And with the amount of chicken that we used, it's important to have that pan hot. And usually the pan starts shimmering a little bit of smoke, and that's really whenever that's key. You got to have it hot. That way the immediate temperature is just evaporating, so you're able to get that brown color on one side. And again, if you stir it, you're not going to get that brown. So let it flatten and let it cook. Do not mess with it, and let it develop that nice colorful crust. And Really easy recipe, guys. Really, you know, we are using a few ingredients like low sodium soy sauce and ketchup, and there is sodium in that, but you got to remember how much we're saving. If you would have went out to eat at a Chinese restaurant, how much we're saving in the long run. So had a great time doing this recipe, one of my favorites. I'm going to enjoy a quick lunch here. I thank you so much for watching. I sure appreciate it. Thank you again to the Oklahoma, or the Muskogee Nation of Oklahoma, for bringing me in to present for my house here. I really love it. And again, have a great day. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you at the next video. Miigwech.